I feel very, very blessed to be here with all of you. I've been very excited to come here. It's a blessing for us to all be together, you know? Some people couldn't be here. Some people didn't wake up today. What I just said could apply to anyone. If you haven't heard, OJ has passed. Yeah, you can tell by the. You can just tell. Okay, this. You can tell by the excitement that some people have how they felt during the trial. Do you know what I mean? There's a couple people that have been so happy, I'm like, oh, I know where you stood back in the day. Wow. Okay. There are people out here, finally got him, you know. Which is crazy, because when you look at like OJ's feed when he was posting, there had been this rumor that he was actually in hospice care earlier this year. And then there's a video of him in his car, which someone is obviously filming the video, and he rolls down the window and everything, and he's like, hospice? Hospice? Me? No, I'm doing very well. And so if he was doing very well, and now he's dead, do you think somebody... I don't know. I mean, it'd be kind of funny. You know? It just feels a bit weird, you know what I mean? Like he just seemed like one of those people that would just be around forever. Not in a way that I'm like, oh, I'm excited that he's around. Just like every once in a while you would see a tweet from him or you'd see something and you'd be like, oh yeah, OJ is out. Yeah, I mean, and I say out because he did go to jail, just not for the thing we know him for. That's my biggest disappointment with OJ. You think after getting away with murder, you lay low. You know what I mean? Like, this is the time to play it cool, okay? You just got away with the most public we've ever seen. Like, the whole nation was watching, and then they said not guilty. And then you were like, let's roll the dice again. But now he's gone. And it's gotta be weird. Like him and Nicole are gonna have a conversation. You know what I mean? Like, I'm joking. They definitely didn't go to the same place. I've had like a journey on the internet as far as having it, right? Because I pretty much got internet the way that we have it now. And it wasn't even the way that we have it now when I was little. I got internet in like a all access type of way when I was like 11. So I was little, but there weren't things that I had before me. Like before, if you went back further than that, you'd have to like know how to code and stuff. 11 was when I could like get on the internet and type in boobs.com. And it's the internet has brought so many people together in the best and worst of ways, right? Because it used to be, before the internet, if you wanted community, you had to go out, you had to find your sort of like tribe of people, but on a more mindful level, you had to find your people, right? And it was very hard. It was very hard for a lot of people with specific interests, and it was very hard for a lot of people who were struggling with specific things. That's why it's like from 2000 and on that like every type of struggle, it feels like, is known and talked about. Because, yeah, you might have a bunch of friends who have just never been through the thing that you've been through, but now that you can look it up, now that you can find people. And so message boards took off. Message boards were like this forum for everyone that believed in or liked the same thing. It was instant common ground, you know? And it was before the sort of like platforms really. So you didn't have to worry, like if you were on a forum about a video game that you liked, you didn't have to worry about anybody making fun of you for liking the video game. It's why we're all here. Mm-hmm. And so there was this real community that started up. And it's tough when you're a kid because you're so alone when you're a kid in a very specific way. Because as a teenager, you're going through all the things teenagers go through, but you're going through them specifically as you. So no one knows what it's like to be you exactly. And so you do feel alone, even if you're surrounded by people. But sometimes, because you can impose so much on this faceless type, this faceless text, you feel like the people on the forum get you. And so then you feel like, okay, if people get me, I must not be crazy. If people get me, I must not be completely wrong in who I am, right? And that's pretty much how you get incels. Do you know what I mean? Because this is the thing. This is one of the wildest things about incels I don't think anybody talks about. Incels, at least in their thinking, is actually weirdly, counterintuitively, quite reasonable. Because incels are like, no one wants to fuck me. And then the world is like, yeah. It's actually the dudes who are incels that go out and try every night that are the delusional ones. Like, all right, I've been striking out 600 days in a row, but tonight is my night. I put on extra cologne, so I know that the ladies will be all over me. Oh, it feels weird. Even the lore of how things get started. Like I'm telling you what I heard. I don't know the full ins and outs of this thing. I'm just telling you the way that I heard it, which to me makes sense. Okay, so to the best of my knowledge from the stories that I've heard, one thing that I do find funny, and it's actually the same thing as like how cults start a little bit. So way back in the day, still in kind of the forum era, but we were starting to have social platforms where like anybody could get on. There were these guys who were all divorced, right? Like by and large divorced, or were not married, but like had some sort of weird situation. They couldn't see their kids, you know? And so then they banded together because it's a very specific pain, I would imagine, to not be able to see your kid as a dad. Because by and large, maybe because so many of us did do it this way, it feels more reasonable to do it this way. But a lot of people feel like, nobody really needs a dad. I'm telling you, a lot of people feel that way, genuinely. And I'm not saying that as in like a judgment on anybody. I'm just saying like, if you're like, oh, my dad left, people are like, what else? Like, do you know what I mean? It doesn't carry the weight it would have carried in the 50s. Like, your dad left? You know what I mean? It's like, my dad's not around, and people are like, yeah, so any other revelations? Like, and so I think that sometimes when there's almost an expectation like that, then people who do care, who can't be as involved as they want, feel a very real pain. And they were the only people who understood each other. So they would talk and they would talk and they would talk. And where they messed up, like if I had been there back in the day, if I had been in that forum, what I would have said is like, just careful with the name. The name makes everything. Because then they banded together as like a group, and they were like, let's try to get some laws passed so that we can like see our kids, you know? It feels like family court is against us. And so then they called themselves men's rights activists. And I was like, bruh. You should have said dads. Dude, dads would have cooked. We'd be like, dads that want to see their kids? Protect these men. Protect all 8 of them. You know what I mean? But because they said men, now men who don't even have kids are joining the group. And because people are joining the group, joining the forum that are not there for the specific cause, for the specific reason that they came together over this pain, it starts to morph into something else. So now these guys that are like, I just want to see my kids, are also being like buried in the comments of the forum by people being like, I can't get a date. Like, these bitches crazy, right? And so ironically, a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them, maybe they were angry. Maybe they were going through a divorce. Maybe they were bitter at their ex-wife or women in general for not being able to see their kid. But they could also see what was happening, right? They could see like what this thing was turning into. What used to be a genuine support group is turning into like a weird, it's just a weird hang. Do you know what I mean? Like, you never want to be surrounded by angry men. Even as an angry man. I've been mad as hell before, but anytime too many of my buddies are also mad, I start to calm down. I start to be like, all right, well, we don't want to burn anything down. Feels like y'all want to do something different. Okay. But yeah, it started to happen where like, be like, you know, couldn't get the visitation that I wanted. I feel like the judge hated me when I walked in. And instead of more comments underneath like that, I've had that experience. And don't give up. It's not over. There's always things that you can do. Hey, just try to work it out with her. You know, you can get more visitation with her permission. You know, like things that were genuine support started to be buried by like, man, these bitches want whole meals. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe they want you to take them out and pay. This shit is crazy. And then eventually, some of the, not all, but some of the earliest members of the forum are like, I started this thing because I'm trying to see my kids. And a lot of y'all seem crazy as hell. And I want to see my kids. So I'm a bounce. And so then, just like that, it was kind of gone. Like the heart of this thing, the reason, the sort of nugget that brought it all together had disappeared. And all that was left was this mob that had gathered with different grievances. You know? And that's how you get red pill stuff today. Do you know what I mean? Because the thing about red pill that's so appealing is that anyone telling you it's not your fault is probably going to get your attention. It's one of the most, it's honestly one of the most appealing arguments someone can make. If you're unhappy with your life and they come to you and they say, hey, none of this is your fault. Even as a defense mechanism, you're like, I'm listening. All right? And even red pill in and of itself is like starting to like eat itself. Because there's no basis around what it's really about. It's not really about community. It starts to just become this weird thing, you know? Like I've heard some of the most insane arguments ever. And I don't even think I'm thinking about the stuff you're thinking about. You're thinking about the surface level. I'm talking about deep. Like when a red pill podcaster really starts to cook. Like, I can't believe y'all out here having kids. That shit, y'all having kids, I don't know. Just something about like you had a daughter? That's gay, dog. Are you serious? You had a daughter? You had a daughter? That shit gay as hell, for real, man. That means you cum girls. Pause, dog. Nah. We ain't doing that over here. Are you serious? But no, when I was a kid, I go over to my buddy's house and, you know, his grandparents had been together for 60 years. That's a long time. 60 years of marriage, by the way, not knowing each other, not being cute. 60 years, right? Their fights were epic. Their fights were amazing. You know, because at 60 years, you let it all out. You know what I mean? Because at 60 years, you just say what's on your mind, because what are they going to do? Leave? Me and my boy be in the other room, and we'd hear, "Oh, I should have married your brother." And he was like, "Oh, okay, then my brother want to blow his brains out. All right." Married 60 years. Crazy stuff, right? And basically, his granddad was going deaf very quickly. He was losing his hearing rapidly, but he didn't want to wear hearing aids because he didn't like how they made him feel, right? And I don't mean just the fit in the ear. I mean, like, he didn't like how he could hear so little naturally, and then he put them in and could hear across the street. Just made him feel like Daredevil without the rest of them. And I remember one time I was hanging out at their house, and we heard his grandma yelling all around the house. And then she came into the room where we were at because his granddad was watching us, and she was like, "Why won't you just wear some hearing aids, okay? I got to yell your name all through the house. Then I got to yell when I get in the room and I even find you. I'm yelling all the time. Surprised I'm not losing my voice. Why can't you just wear your hearing aids so you can hear me when I'm talking to you? I feel like you don't listen to anything I say because you can't hear me talking to you." And you just saw him slowly start to smile. It's honestly the most boss move I've ever seen in my entire life. This dude was like, "I will go deaf if it means I know peace, all right? I have no problem." And one time, I was over at their house, and his grandma was watching us. And we were being quiet. So I don't know if she was saying this to us or to herself, but out of nowhere, she broke the silence. And she was just like, that nigga hear me.
Mira.